This slightly delayed video is all about the Elvestran Academy Wizards. This Elven Wizards school is an ancient school I made up for a D&D campaign I'm running in the Midgard campaign setting, but of course I had to add more to it. It's also an alchemy research, historical archive, ancient library, archaeology research, and more. The entire plane of existence this place is in is an extra-dimensional space that's been protected and has one teleportation basically in and out of the prime material realm. This entire place is inside of a truly colossal tree. Sections of the trunk are magically hollowed. Magical stone elevators go between levels. There's also the interdimensional portal in the second floor as well. In the first floor lobby is the Spire restaurant, where anyone in the city can come to eat and show off their pets and latest fashions, as they eat some of the highest quality food for sale. This school is also referred to as the Spire, because in even more ancient times it was once a spiral stone tower in ages past, but long ago was regrown as an ancient tree and built into this version. Located in a hidden extra-dimensional pocket, as I already said, there are a few other ways in and out, but the main teleport in the school is heavily guarded by powerful magical golems, and all the professors of the academy are expected to defend this link between the worlds as needed. This is in the Elven city of Elvestral Vorstin, which is a made-up city in a world I didn't make up, but I am running a D&D campaign in. However, I did make up the city and the history, and every character in here. It's a primarily high magic and very utopic place that tends to be a slightly racist location where the elves believe themselves superior. You have to go through a lot of trouble to become an elf friend and be given permission to teleport in and out of this pocket dimension. I created several random creation charts that I used to create NPCs and characters, especially background characters and stories, quickly. It also helps to create things for artwork. All these characters here were using a template or base I needed. Basically, I just had the positions I had to fill in the academy, and everything else, almost everything else, was totally random rolls from my dice charts. I also recently created a Tel Kasir Elvish chart by finding a translator online using various sources in D&D lore showing the Dungeons & Dragons version of Elvish, and for words I couldn't find, I made up my own version. I actually have 2 D percentile charts now with random words I can use to name places and people in Elvish, which I find very useful. I haven't quite finished the second D percentile chart though. For creating characters quickly, I use a combination of different dice rolling. I use D percentiles to determine various things. Sometimes you can quickly determine skin color and height. I just roll D percentile. The lower the number, the paler the skin, the higher the number, the darker. And for height, the shorter the person is, the lower the number on the D percentile. With a D20, I usually roll with number 1 to 10 is male, and number 11 to 20 is female. And whenever I create a character that is a they or androgynous, I usually intentionally pick that. Or I roll on a D percentile chart, and with a very high number, such as 95 or higher, I determine that that person is either both male and female or neither. I also have several other creation charts which include hairstyles, and I tend to roll D percentile again for length of hair. The higher the number, the longer the hair, with a very low number meaning very short buzz cut or bald, but I do also have separate hairstyle, hair length, and hair type charts. I also have eye color charts, skin tone charts, and various other things that can work with D percentile or D20, and sometimes other dice, such as D6s or D12s, that can help. Another D percentile chart I use a lot is my favorite weaknesses, which is flaws and character weaknesses. I have various charts for things including what happens, attitudes, bonds, goals, motivations, alignments, and everything about physical appearance, sense of style, and all kinds of stuff. I prefer to use these more for NPCs or characters that aren't main characters, but sometimes I do end up using them if I'm having trouble with more of a main character. I also find they're really helpful just for doing artwork, and it can be really fun to make random characters and figure it out. Remember, if you are using these charts and you don't like something you roll, don't use it. Roll again or pick something else. These things are to help you, not the other way around. As these are important and powerful NPCs in a current D&D campaign I'm dungeon mastering, I don't want to give away too much secret information about them, so I'm going to focus more on the random creation elements than actually getting into too much individual details about these characters that my players have only met a couple of so far and are still in the area and could discover secret things about. I might eventually reveal more about them if I decide to add something in the comment section below, but for now, I think I'll focus on the random creation elements. I think this is also a good example of using random charts to help make sure you're not making your characters too similar. Even though every single character here is a high elf, they are very different both visually and personality-wise from each other. They're all high elven wizards that grew up in the same giant magical city and are similar in certain ways, but every single character is actually very different. And I think this sort of a challenge with random creation charts to help ensures that you're not making your characters too similar. Having good weaknesses and motivation charts, as well as just making decisions to add on to things you randomly roll, can really help with this. I also recommend making specific charts for specific stories and locations. So if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, it's good to have enemies and encounter charts for random things to happen in cities and locations, but if you're creating NPCs, you might want to make specific rolling charts for specific locations. For example, if you're in a region with certain races being the most common, make a different D percentile chart for what race the NPC could be, because depending on where you are is what's more common or more rare. I tend to make the very high numbers on D percentiles be the rare occurrences, and the very low numbers be the more common ones. Most often, that is. This campaign is run for adults by adults, so it includes sexuality. Because I'm including sexuality, I have lover charts. You don't need those charts necessarily if you're running a campaign for children or a non-sexual campaign. For determining sexuality of characters, there are two charts. The lover type, which are things like whether someone's monogamous, polyamorous, or promiscuous, and the orientation, which is straight, bisexual, or gay. I can also make additional determinations, such as what type of person someone's attracted to. There's a certain amount of logic and making quick notes, depending on how interactive the players are being with the character. And then it just plays out based on logic and how the player characters act and who the person is. I usually intentionally choose asexual or aromantic or unsexual characters aside from rolling on these charts. So I have two different alignment charts. If I want the NPC to be more antagonistic, I roll on the unfriendly alignment chart. If I want them to be more neutral or friendly, I roll on my friendly alignment chart, which flip-flops using a d20 for which of the standard D&D alignment arrays a person is likely to be. In the unfriendly alignment, there are more chances to be evil, and in the friendly alignment, there are more chances to be good or neutral. And I find this works extremely well, and it's good for all kinds of things, actually. I also have a couple different charts I also use for hair, which is the D percentile hair type, which includes things like afro and super curly, very curly, wavy, straight, and in rare cases bald. I have a kind of obsession with really long hair, and I actually find it hard to give characters anything but really long hair. And then if I don't give them really long hair, I probably give them cool mohawks or emo hairstyles. I find it exceedingly difficult to draw a character with very short hair. For me, something some people might consider longer is very short, and it's still rare for me to draw, and sometimes I can skip right to bald though, interestingly. But yeah, it's probably good for me to roll on these hair charts because for me, I tend to make a lot of characters with very long hair, and it's probably good for variety that I roll on these charts and mix it up. A very useful chart I created only last year is actually a D8 chart, which is fashion style, major. So the overall fashion style for a character, I find this chart very good. It includes vintage, celebrity, bohemian, noble, artistic, sexy, casual, and edgy. And I found it extremely helpful for quickly creating characters and to decide an overall aesthetic and design. I also have a really useful D12 chart too that I found online and copied out. Oh, actually one of them I made up myself, the other one I found online, which is jewelry and jewelry material. I also have different charts for specifics about different races and ancestries. So for example, I do have specific charts for tieflings, which includes more expanded tieflings and the standard Asmodeus tiefling, which includes the different types of horns, horn color, ears, eyes, etc. And I advise if you want to make a lot of characters of a specific race, and that race has additional traits that are not so human, that you also make specific charts. For different types of furry people, including my cat people and my Genivivere, my genet people, I have charts now for different patternings and colors in their fur, and I find these extremely helpful for quickly coming up with NPCs and worlds, or just for coming up with characters when I seem a bit art blocked or stuck. So I do advise you make specific chart for different ancestries and races that help you create things that are not something that matches the way humans look as well. And remember, for different color charts to get things for special hair colors, and as well I have a human eye color or human realistic eye color chart, and I have a human realistic hair color chart, as well as I said, expanded color charts to allow things to be more fantastical than the standard colors. I found some of these charts on the D&D Reddit page, r/D&D, and there's a lot of good charts there, some of which I typed out, some of which I wrote out by hand. I even placed many on cards, flashcards, to use while playing. One interesting chart I found is NPC Quick Past, which also talks about a very quick, simplified way of describing the background of that person before they became who they are now. I'm not sure if I found this one or I came up with myself, but I also have a larger, more expanded jewelry chart. And I also have a lot of different things. So I created a very large deep percentile chart of small pet type creatures that are good for familiars and pets. And that's another good one with wealthy people like these elven wizards. So I could roll what their familiar or their pet is on a large expanded deep percentile chart. And it's very fun to use these charts in combination to quickly come up with cool characters. As I said, remember, you can fill in things you choose on top of everything you roll randomly, and if you roll something you don't like, don't use it, re-roll. But I actually just used everything I rolled because I found it all worked out. I was also really happy I got 2 natural hundreds on hair length for this character and the necromancy professor, so his hair is down all the way to his ankles and her hair is longer than she is tall, which is, I love it, very fun. But these are all just bust shots showing just maybe the top of the shoulders and the face a bit. With her, I remember that I rolled that she is very sexually open and also likes very sexy clothing styles as part of it. And I also remember for her as well that I got that she has hazel eyes. And in order to get her hazel eyes right, I actually looked up reference to help do that. For a lot of these, I looked up multiple references, and as you saw for the design for her, I went through a lot of processes because I decided I wanted kind of an over-the-shoulder braid, so I went through trouble. For her braid, I actually braided my own hair and looked at it as reference for the final version I used. And I looked up a very golden blonde, which was the random hair color I rolled for her, to try to get this to look the way I wanted it to. Anyway, I find that I got a good variety of characters from my random charts, and I enjoyed the process of creating these wizards. Hello Valilirios, please consider subscribing if you enjoy my videos, and if you do, click that notification bell for post notifications. I aim for a new video every Wednesday, but life can cause delays sometimes. Feel free to leave any questions, comments, constructive criticisms, and other comments in the comment section below, and please like the video if you liked it. And remember, imagination is endless.